We all have responsibilities in light of that. But in the end, these are complex problems. These are not stuff you wake up in the morning and say, I can take care of 56 million gallons of high-level radioactive liquid waste. So you have to understand that it does take collaboration, and it takes a lot of really talented people with a lot of different perspectives.
Welcome to the Environmental Transformation Podcast, where we bring you interviews with industry leaders, climate champions, sustainability practitioners, EHS and hazmat professionals making an impact in their businesses today. Each leader solving complex challenges and delivering solutions within their areas of expertise. I'm your host, Sean Grady, and thanks for joining us today. Before we jump in, make sure to follow us on your devices and visit my website at www.seankgrady.com and sign up for our newsletter and email announcements. Now let's get started.
Welcome to the Environmental Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Grady, and today's guest is Steve Moore. Steve is the president and CEO of Veolia Nuclear Solutions Federal Services Group. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sean. It is a mouthful. It's not the easiest thing in the world to say, but I'm really happy to be here. We've worked together for a little while. Yeah. This gives us an opportunity to maybe dive in a little deeper into the work that the Federal Services Group does, in particular with our primary client, the Department of Energy, that's heavily focused on nuclear waste, which I think is a topic that your listeners will enjoy.
Yeah.
But it's also your taxpayer dollars in action. So keep that in mind when we talk about how much money gets spent.
Absolutely.
It can be a little painful.
No, this is going to be a good conversation. Excited to talk with you today. So Steve, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started in the business.
Sure.
And, how you became the president and CEO of Veolia's, Nuclear Solutions Federal Services Group.
Very good. So, so my background, I've got a chemistry undergrad. I'm an attorney, kind of worked through a lot of the traditional government sites that people think of when they think of the Department of Energy. I spent a lot of time at the Portsmouth site, where they enriched uranium in Ohio, developed a relationship with the different companies. And there's a lot of players that get involved in this business. So over time, I kind of grew into, I worked with Lockheed Martin at the time, and got advanced my career through there. Started to work with a small business, had an opportunity to become an owner of a small business when a gentleman retired. So I had a business that I grew pretty significantly in kind of 2006 to 2015 or so. And we continued to grow. We had an opportunity to really look at the ways that we could give more people opportunities as we continued to serve this primary client. And we reached a point where growth was really organically challenging. So we decided, let's look for an acquisition. And long story short, with a lot of different offers and opportunities, I got connected with Veolia, which is, as you know, one of the largest environmental companies in the world, sold to them in 2018. Part of that process was then used to create their business here in the U.S., in particular for the government, U.S. government. There's a lot of complexities when you're a foreign-owned company and how you try to work for the U.S. government. We were able to do that through my acquisition, and then I stuck on and helped them continue to grow, and have been working through that process ever since, and it's been a lot of fun.
Tell us, Steve, if you could, a little bit more about the Waste Symposia. We're here in Arizona. This is a big conference, probably one of the largest conferences I've been to. And to be quite frankly, I've never been to a conference with so many DOE contractors and service providers that are all focused on the nuclear business.
Yeah, this is kind of their, I think they refer to it as their Super Bowl, if you will.
Yeah.
But so the Department of Energy has a conference in Phoenix once a year. And what we really are focused on, a lot of people don't realize, is, the U.S. government through the Department of Energy's Environmental Management Group, they spend about $8 billion a year.
Wow.
Cleaning up. Really, it's, for lack of a better term, it really is the Manhattan Project. So I tell people, if you've seen the movie Oppenheimer, you understand our places like Oak Ridge, Tennessee, Los Alamos, New Mexico,
right,
Hanford, Washington, places where we did a lot of the research, a lot of the testing and everything associated with that, enriching the uranium, enriching the plutonium, and the things necessary to make that happen. So the government, was all full steam ahead and making sure that we had what we needed to make that work. But the reality is there's a lot of work to do to clean all that up. So it remains one of the largest environmental liabilities that the U.S. government owns. This is the symposium once a year where we all get together and discuss new technologies, new funding profiles, new things that are happening throughout the complex.
So when you're at this conference, do you have opportunities to interact with, say, the DOE directly
That's the real advantage of this. So there's a couple things. This is both a technical conference where there's papers and lots of presentations on some of the unique challenges of nuclear waste, how it's packaged, how it's handled, how it's stored, how it's disposed of. But then there's also a lot of interaction from the department themselves. They're here kind of listing their priorities, as you would expect with new administrations, with different things that are important to different parts of the government.
Right.
The opportunity for them to be here, kind of say, here's my top 5 things for this year. Here's what we're worried about on the funding side. So it gives us that real collaboration opportunity. And it's, when you get a concentration of people together at one time, you got to take advantage of that, because we're all busy.
Absolutely.
It doesn't happen.
Well, so why is this so important for BNSFS to be here? And what do you plan to accomplish by coming to this event every year?
Well, I think part of it too is there's a lot of, this industry is pretty mature. There are a lot of companies that are larger AE firms and different things that are really focused on helping solve this problem for the government. So for us in particular, this gives us an opportunity, obviously, to hear with the client, but also to work with partners, others, to say, develop those solutions, spend time with people in more of a networking environment where we can really look at specific problems and specific ways to try to solve those. Lots of follow-up meetings and stuff come from this, but anytime you get an opportunity to get a bunch of, really talented people together, you take advantage of it. Absolutely. And for us, we're really trying to hear or listen to the client, but at the same time, engage with our partners and others to figure out what's the right priority for us.
So you mentioned that there's opportunities to sit through trainings, education, but talk a little bit about some maybe the opportunities where our people with BNSFS has to present to the audience about what their key experiences are, and some maybe technologies that we offer. Talk a little bit about that.
So, we do a lot of things. Again, Veolia is one of the largest environmental companies in the world. So we have a lot of depth and breadth of capabilities. Not all of those obviously are focused on nuclear waste,
right?
But in reality, a lot of the same type of waste issues that people have, whether it's landfill operations or it's treatment technologies for stabilizing hazardous waste, the technologies are still applicable to what we do in the nuclear world. It also happens to be radioactive. So for us, we've got folks that are giving presentations on, everything from how efficient ways of managing landfills and the leachate and everything associated with that to, vitrification technologies that can turn a chunk of radioactive waste into a nice little piece of glass.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
It's not a paperweight.
This is good.
And then we also do a lot of things with, as you would understand from radioactivity, there's a lot of robotics associated with that, remote handle things where, you simply can't get that close to certain materials without, exposing people to health issues that are not necessary. So it's kind of the full portfolio for us. And again, we can talk about it in technical sessions, but then we can also meet with the client and be proactive on what's the next challenge.
Well, I think it's a great opportunity to demonstrate our thought leadership and our expertise to the industry, because, what better way to talk about what we do than present in front of a lot of people, right?
Yep.
And that's a huge asset to our company. One of the things I was hoping to maybe get from you is, for the audience, what type of capabilities specifically are, the BNSF group focused on, and how do they deliver that? Because I think there's, some maybe not know exactly how or what you guys offer as a service. So talk about that group.
So we primarily focus on waste management activities, and that kind of expertise. So we have the full gamut of whether it's characterizing the waste, it's packaging, transporting, and then we have technologies. We've partnered with there are 2 commercial radioactive waste disposal facilities in the U.S. Most of the actual disposal facilities for nuclear material in the U.S. are owned by the government. We operate some of those facilities for them. We currently operate the 2 largest radioactive waste landfills that the government owns. One is in Hanford, Washington. The other is in Portsmouth, Ohio, that we're actually still constructing part of it. So we really have that kind of expertise. And as you know,
deep in that's
and in your world, Veolia North America does a lot of hazardous waste work. They operate a lot of landfills.
Yep.
So one of the things that we're really doing is we're partnering with some of the other components of Veolia North America and the hazardous waste group in particular. We're bringing their, subject matter expertise on landfill operations in. we're sending our folks out. And it really is, it's a fresh set of eyes, and it's part of our commitment to the client where we're bringing best practices. And there's a lot of stereotypes about people doing work for the government and people doing work in the commercial environment. So what we really want to do is blend that together and take the best from both. So that's really what we're focused on is kind of those capabilities to kind of solve some of those unique challenges around waste.
Well, I tell you, the short period of time I've been here, the capabilities that we offer is a full service. It's like one Veolia concept, right?
It really is.
Where we have water treatment capabilities. Well, obviously, we have our hazardous waste treatment capabilities.
Yep.
Whether we have 3 incinerators, we have a hazardous waste landfill, we've got 4 fuel loading facilities for alternative hazardous waste fuels and other byproducts for solvent recovery and things like that. There's so many great things we do. Electronic waste recycling. Yep. Marrying those technologies and capabilities to what you guys do in the DOE space is a game changer when you think of the full package of federal services that we can offer any of our clients in the DOE space. And I think that's a powerful statement to anybody who listens to what we can do and get partnered for. So
and I think it's important too, what we're seeing with this client in particular. So obviously we're focused on the environmental stewardship and all the things that are necessary to be the responsible stakeholder that we should be.
Yep.
But what we're seeing from this client is a big focus on taking these assets, these federal facilities, and kind of revitalizing them. There's a big initiative from this administration, whether it's a data center or it's additional energy capacity through advanced reactors or even through solar field. And I think, again, to your point about one Veolia, we can, even our SIB group, when it comes to commissioning new data centers, what we're seeing from this client is that growth opportunity where they're just saying, hey, not only do we want this stuff cleaned up responsibly, but we're not just going to walk away from it. We want to take these assets that we own and we want to turn them into the next generation of productivity for. And right
future
now,
generations.
the focus is certainly on data centers. And again, whether it's our water tech group or our SIB group, there's certainly opportunities for us to bring that one solution to the client.
So when you're here, do you hear updates on, the funding projects from the DOE and how that's going to happen as part of their priorities?
So one of my challenges with communications in Veolia or really with our staff or anything else is the never-ending saga of government may shut down, government may partially shut down, government may open, government may have a budget, may not.
Right.
And we joke about it, but at the same time, it is challenging. And I think anybody who would appreciate large projects realize that starts and stops and fluctuations in funding create their own set of unique challenges. So for us, what we try to do obviously is be as flexible as we can for our clients and see that, that there's the pluses and minuses, because it's not uncommon at the end of a fiscal year to have a surge where there was some planning work that didn't necessarily happen. And now the client comes to you and says, look, I've got some stuff here. So, we like to have stuff on the shelf and say, okay, here's 1, 2, or 3, right? If you feel like that's something you can do. So for us, it really is about, I know Bob Capito talks about being nimble, agile,
right?
And I think that's very much what is needed from a client like this. And it's just a function of the government, and it has its own set of challenges, whether you're trying to get in the line at TSA or you're trying to get rid of some nuclear waste. I mean, it's
still a challenge.
Hello, ET Nation. I want to thank you for listening to the podcast. If you're enjoying the interviews we bring you, consider supporting the program by visiting my website at SeanKGrady.com and buy me a cup of coffee. Proceeds will go towards helping me continue producing timely content and offset production costs. I'd also like to take a moment and recognize a few of our sponsors of the show who have been amazing partners and are ET Nation legends. If you're looking for a drilling and environmental contracting firm to help you delineate the extent of contamination at your site, then look no further than Cascade Environmental. Cascade has over 37 offices across the country and offers a huge range of environmental and geotechnical drilling, site characterization, and remediation services. With their huge fleet of equipment and nationwide coverage, Cascade is a great choice to support your environmental and infrastructure needs. To learn more, check out their website at cascade-env.com. That's cascade-env.com. Hey, are you looking for an equipment rental company to help you with your next wastewater remediation or waste management project? E-Tank is the only environmental equipment rental company in the industry that offers 100% guaranteed, certified clean temporary liquid storage tanks at no additional cost. This protocol gives peace of mind for the previous customer by limiting their downstream liability, as well as the future customer by preventing any cross-contamination for all of their rental tanks. E-Tank also runs a one-of-a-kind complete maintenance program for all rental items, including liquid-tight roll-off containers, fluid transfer pumps, and filtration items. The next time you are presented with an environmental challenge, call E-Tank to come up with the solution for your problem. I want to thank one of our sponsors, WasteLink. WasteLink is the all-in-one software platform transforming how environmental professionals manage waste, connecting generators, service providers, and disposal facilities in a way that is simple, connected, and transparent. Their platform helps streamline everything from waste profiling and routing to inventory management and billing, giving you the tools you need to operate more efficiently and reduce cost. Whether you're a generator looking for better options or a service provider seeking greater efficiency, WasteLink has you covered. If you're ready to take control of your waste management processes and optimize your business, visit wasteLink.com to schedule a demo today.
When you look across the landscape of DOE and their types of projects, are there any particular locations or projects that are like, that is like the big one? You know, that is like a major, going to be like here for a long time. And there's so many opportunities for so many players to support the remediation challenges. Which ones maybe stick out in your mind?
So the one that's the biggest of the environmental liabilities within the CM program is, and again, it's a lot of people don't realize it, but from, again, the Manhattan Project and kind of in the Cold War, there's 56 million gallons of liquid radioactive high-level waste stored at Hanford, Washington in above-ground storage tank.
56 million?
56 million gallons. It remains the single largest liability within the DOE complex. The current life cycle baseline projection, which is, roughly around the end of the century, which is kind of code for us who've been in the business a long time to say, that's code for we really don't have any idea. But in all seriousness, it's a real issue. We're very much involved right now with that client, and not to bore people with too much technical detail, but there's grouting technology, there's liquid separation technologies. There's a big investment that the government has made with a waste treatment plant at Hanford that's been controversial because it has been behind schedule and over budget. So we're looking at, we actually just responded to a request for proposal to the client to provide some alternative grouting technologies to help, again, work away that in all seriousness, that's not going to go away overnight.
Right.
So it is a matter of kind of an all approach to how we can, as a community of contractors, work that down. But that's the biggest single liability that they have out there right now.
So does the DOE have an end game strategy for the final disposition of, a lot of this nuclear waste that's out there? I mean, Yucca Mountain was the one there for a while, but now, is there other alternatives that they're evaluating that's been, hey, we're going to go this route versus some others? I mean, is there something there?
So it's probably not as concrete as some people would like it to be, but this administration came out a few months ago with a request for information on a concept of basically, and I might mess up the terminology, it's kind of energy campuses or innovation campuses, where they're really looking at these, again, federal assets, these facilities, and they're looking at a variety of different additional support services, consolidated waste storage, spent fuel recycling. And then, but as you make, you recycle as much as you can, then you get to the point of where, all right, we are looking at deep repository disposal, and that may be part of the equation too. It's a real issue. Finland is the host country here this year. We always sponsor a country to present. And they are going to go operational with their deep repository for storage later this year.
Really?
So it's not and not to, again, sound political, but it's really not a technical issue. There's got to be willing communities, and there's got to be that kind of stakeholder involvement for people to understand, this is not something that's going to go away tomorrow.
Right.
If you're committing to do that. But I think the technology is there. I know the technology is there to do it responsibly, but I think that's kind of the next step. I know this current administration has aspirations for that, but to answer your other question just a little bit. So with most of the sites individually, they do try to work a lot with the stakeholders to understand, do you want this to become a greenfield? Do you want this to become
right.
a new nuclear power plant? Do you want, and really looking at the assets in the context of the communities?
Because they're like huge brownfields essentially,
correct.
but much more complex.
Much more complex.
Right.
And, from an operations standpoint, they're also huge employers and generate,
communities grow up around them.
Correct. So what's the right answer for each one? It could be different.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, the complexity of trying to address all of these concerns, it's not easy, but I think there are a lot of really smart engineers and scientists that are here working to all really pull the same direction to help DOE solve these problems. When you're here, how important it is for us as a company and you to develop partnerships with others that can deliver the full service of maybe a particular scope, because we may be limited in one aspect of our business, but to fulfill a full scope, we need a partner.
Correct.
How important is that for you? And what's our strategy around that?
So I have not copyrighted this, but there's a term we all say in this industry called competimates.
Competimates, huh?
So we certainly have opportunities, to your point, where our technologies and services align with another company's capabilities to solve this solution, and we partner and we do that. There are other times when, we can do this and they can do this and we compete. But I think this industry has matured over the years to where the Competimate concept, it really is true. We all understand, and we all have, most of us are publicly traded companies, and we all have responsibilities in light of that. But in the end, these are complex problems. These are not stuff you wake up in the morning and say, I can take care of 56 million gallons of high level radioactive liquid waste, right?
Yeah.
So you have to understand that it does take collaboration, and it takes a lot of really talented people with a lot of different perspectives.
Yeah. My mind's still kind of reeling on 56 million gallons of,
And remember, it's your tax dollars that are going to actually make that go away. When come April 15th, realize what you're signing up for there.
Yeah, actually, I mean, yes, it's kind of no different than in the hazardous waste business or solid waste business. Each company can't really deliver all the services. They can deliver a lot of the services. And, we have channel partners just like you guys have channel partners to do, deliver on service. And, we work together to satisfy and meet the demand of our clients. And it's a great partnership when it's all working, and communication is good. We need good communication with all our partners. And so we all know our lanes and what we can do. That's real important. If you could, Steve, talk a little bit about the actual capabilities that Veolia has in this space and the types of work you're doing for the DOE industry, because I don't think, everyone understands it completely. And so
be happy to. I think this is maybe a little segue to this. So just one technology we have a lot of patented technology. This is a vitrification technology that really focuses on obviously radioactive waste, but in particular waste that have reactive metals, sodium, lithium, those kinds of things. You certainly in your hazardous waste background know the challenges of reactive metals, and at the same time throw in some radioactivity, and it really does make it challenging. So we have a patented technology called GeoMelt.
Okay.
We have a couple of facilities. We have one located at the Hanford site, and we have another one with a partnership with Waste Control Specialists in Andrews, Texas, at their commercial radioactive waste landfill. And what this technology does is it takes high level or low level waste that is also reactive and essentially vitrifies them into glass. These are electrodes that are sacrificial, and you typically see a combination of, there's recipes with a combination of the waste and then surrogate material, and then also the sand and the things to make glass. And then this is typically in the, 1500 degrees C range. It's
Super
impressive,
hot.
super hot, and you end up with a nice big chunk of glass. And then with that facility, then it goes to land disposal in which it's no longer,
It's encapsulated.
and it's no longer a reactive metal. It'll continue to be radioactive, of course, but the reactive nature of the D003 characteristic
Goes away.
is gone. So that's an example. We're looking at this at multiple sites. We use this with waste from Oak Ridge, Tennessee, with waste from the Idaho National Lab right now, and are really looking at it similar to my earlier comments. These are unique solution providers, and for us, we're looking at those targeted things. The waste, for example, we're doing in Oak Ridge, it's the sodium shielding that was used over 50 years ago to actually test the opportunity to build a nuclear powered aircraft.
Oh, wow.
So again, those are the things you get into, and you realize there's something that's been in storage for over 50 years. And now all of a sudden, we have a safe, regulatorily compliant solution for that. And let's figure out a way to work that inventory down.
I think this is such a great example to showcase the technology for somebody just coming by the booth or just curious about what is the end result of a GeoMelt product. That for the listeners and for those watching, I mean, this is an actual block of, I think, concrete here, but inside is the hot radioactive material. And then it's encased completely in glass through this GeoMelting technology. It's pretty fascinating. I think it's really great that this is a solution that is eliminating your radioactive exposure by encasing it in a vitrified type container. Is it safe to say, though, this is our technology, but there are other companies doing similar
there are different types
delivery?
Of, a lot of it has to do, vitrification as a technology is a common in the hazardous waste world, solidification, using, different types of material to be heated up and encapsulated. That's what you're doing. So the patent here really is related to the method, and this is a batch process, not a closed loop process, and kind of the way we have sacrificial electrodes and that approach. It's a proven technology. It's rather robust. We configure it differently depending on the size,
material,
and then the end state. If they needed, hey, we need this to end up in a drum, we need this to end up in a box, and we have the flexibility to do that. And to your point earlier, if I got some engineers who could do 2 podcasts on how the.
We'll probably talk to them. We'll get Ron Mitchell out here at some point.
They'll leave me behind pretty quick.
Right.
But really passionate about this technology.
No, it's really great. And to see, kind of like the actual results and the technology right here in front of you, really kind of brings together the whole concept. And so it was really good to learn that this week for me. As a partner with you.
The other nice thing we've done with this, to echo your point, is we've taken the DOE client to the facility, and it's the models models and PowerPoints are cool. But you stand there and you see, this is how it happens, and there's the end product and everything else. And again, the other thing I would say is that was an investment that Veolia made in a facility where we didn't actually have a backlog and a long-term contract. We saw the need. We understand the long-term issues of the client. So we proactively developed this facility and are now, this room where we're doing the podcast, we've had half a dozen meetings this week about how we can continue to solve these challenges and problems that this technology helps.
So how big can these encased, GeoMelt products, I mean, how big can they be?
So, there's theoretically, lots of different scenarios. The kind of the sweet spot size is a 6x6x8 box.
Okay.
And that's kind of what we've got set up. Our facility in Texas also has the ability to have 2 units, and it's rail aligned with rail to where you move one box in, let it cool, move another box over here, and be able to configure it that way. But it's a flexible technology, and we're actually looking at, one of the things we're looking at, somewhat unrelated to kind of the nuclear waste world, is that there's a lot of classified shape that are associated with weapons programs and things in the past. And, what needs to happen is those shapes need to be destroyed before they're disposed of. And this is something that we've been in discussions with some of the security people.
Wow.
It's kind of interesting because we don't know where they are, how many they are, or what they look like.
But we know their shapes.
So we're working with the client to see again, because the technology makes sense, and,
Right.
and the application for it would be, again, different from a radioactive standpoint, but it's a really cool technology that can do a lot of different things.
This is
Yeah.
it's great. You know, when you're here and you're looking at everybody and you see all these partners and there's just so much happening, and then you know, one starts to think after you start to learn about what the DOE strategies are and things like that for, you know, addressing their big challenges. How does that help you formulate your growth strategy for our support of the DoD, or I mean DOE, and how we grow our business throughout the U.S.?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize, but the U.S. government is the largest single employer in North America.
Right.
They have the most facilities, the most real estate, the most fixed assets. So for us, what we're really wanting to do as our growth strategy is we're really wanting to focus on how do we bring the full portfolio of services of Veolia North America to not just the Department of Energy client, but to really the government,
Right.
because we have that full capability. And as I mentioned earlier, we have, as being a foreign owned company, there are certain things that we have to do a little differently.
Right.
Still, for the U.S. government, we can do classified work. We have clearances. We have those kinds of things. And in order to do that, what we want to do is align ourselves with the government in general because of the growth opportunity there. And like I said earlier, bring the full capabilities of Veolia North America to the client. Some things are going to make more sense for the Department of Defense. Some of them make more sense for maybe NASA or some combination. But we really believe we've only scratched the surface on what we as Veolia can do with one Veolia, with the largest employer in North America.
Well, I think it's powerful statement from our company that really wants to focus on the growth of our federal business. You know, you mentioned some of the things that you guys are doing, like, you know, you're a mitigated entity within our own company so that we can actually comply with all
Correct.
the FAR requirements and the CMMC, you know,
Yep.
cybersecurity requirements and cost accounting and things like that.
Yep.
And us as a company can work with you. I mean, us meaning our environmental or hazardous waste business can work with the federal business under the same umbrella.
Yep.
That's key, because now we have the flexibility to really deliver that full one Veolia approach. And so can our water business, and so can, you know, SIBC.
exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's
It's
really a great
well,
opportunity.
and I think too, when you look at Green Up, you look at the initiatives that are so important to Paris, and as we continue to move forward, is
Right.
again, this is a bit of an untapped market in that sense, right?
Right.
The U.S. government market is. I used to joke with people, it's the it's in your 401k, it's the stable growth fund, right? It doesn't get you jumping out of bed in the morning, but it helps you sleep a little better at night, right? And I think that's what
It's a
is an
steady,
opportunity, right?
constant,
Right.
slow, you know,
And I think
growth.
for a growth company like Veolia, I think some time spent working through the never-ending challenges of working for the federal government is probably going to be worth it in the end.
Well, yeah, I agree. And, so it's really exciting times. I think we're in just a kind of a new era, so to speak, with the new administration.
Yep.
I think it's going to really develop new opportunities that we haven't seen before. I think there'll be an emphasis on doing things quicker,
Yeah.
rather than slower, and less process, red tape versus let's get going and do it. And you heard feedback in that space with
Yeah.
the DOE.
I mean, it's definitely the mantra of this administration, and having done this for over 30 years now, there's a little skepticism from any administration change, because again, great ideas and great initiatives we all support, but we like to joke that the federal government, Department of Energy in particular, it's a bit of a battleship, right? So moving, and in most cases, administrations have windows of opportunity, but this administration is clearly committed to the things you just said.
Yeah.
And we're seeing tangible results, right? The data center developments at these sites, and the conversations earlier this week where you've got a commercial data center coming in and they're saying, hey, I want to have access to this site by this date.
Right.
And knowing that if the department doesn't say yes, they're going to go somewhere else. Right.
Right.
So I think we're seeing some of that. And I think time will tell. I think there's momentum that's being built, that these are things. And again, it's always a balance, but with the regulatory framework, the decision documents, the records of decision, the circular sites, there's a huge environmental envelope of safety and care to the communities that very much intact. not in any way being circumvented.
No,
You know, it's just
right.
we're trying to figure out ways to be nimble and be flexible while we're still protect human health and the environment.
Absolutely.
And we're seeing all that happen.
Well, one thing that I've observed, we have a bit of some aging population in our
We do.
workforce. And what would you say to a young professional just trying to break into this space who is attracted to, say, the DOE market space? Because I can tell you from experience, the DOE market environmental space is a little different than the industrial commercial
Yeah.
environmental hazardous waste space. And so, we're all working in the same kind of mission to protect and human health, the environment, but they're different, industries in itself. And it's what do you recommend for somebody?
So I
wanting to get in?
spend time on panels with college age kids and
Okay.
others. And it's, what I describe with this industry is, it's complex. And I think for people that really want to be challenged and really, I pry into we are cleaning up the challenges of the past.
Right.
And
Sins of the past is what a lot of people would say.
it's a noble mission.
Right.
And there were great reasons why we did what we did.
Right.
But I think, again, we owe it to the country and those same communities that sacrificed to make all those things happen, to really do what is right by them. And,
Right.
and it's a noble cause. And the other part of that for younger people is I don't know a market that has as many challenges. So there's unique issues with types of material, with waste. And as the program matures, it's only the harder stuff
Right.
that's left. So
Right.
if you want to be challenged and you want to really feel like you're having an impact that is generational, it's a good industry to be in.
It is.
It's also what I'm seeing with this administration is their ability to then look, because, the theory in part was where you're just working yourself out of a job, but with what they're wanting to do with developing
Redeveloping
sites and
properties.
everything else,
Right.
you're just,
There's more jobs.
you're just moving it forward, right? You're
Right.
bringing in a modernization approach to different things. And I think that's really exciting.
Well, that's great. That's great. Well, Steve, really appreciate you coming on the show today and
Appreciate
talking
it.
a little bit about what, BNSFS is doing and how you are helping clean up the DOE sites around the US, and really excited to see what happens in that.
It's an exciting time, but anytime there's a hint of a government shutdown, please pray for me. So that would be appreciated. But I
That sounds
appreciate the
great.
time and enjoy talking to you always.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks for listening and watching the show. If you enjoyed the show, then please share it with your friends and coworkers on social media and tell somebody in person. Thanks for being with us, ET Nation.